Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. You are tuning in to episode 5 of Module 2 of the Blueprint for Effortless English. I am your co-host, Ben.
And I am Anna. Welcome back, everyone. We are officially halfway through our second module, and the physical shift we are asking you to make is really starting to take shape.
It absolutely is. This module, The Rhythm of Fluency, has been all about mastering the music of the English language. In the first 4 episodes, we covered a tremendous amount of ground. We learned how to hit the heavy content words with sentence stress. We learned how to relax into the valleys with the lazy schwa sound.
We also learned how to glue everything together with connected speech, turning our words into a flowing river. And in our last episode, we added color and emotion by exploring intonation for intent, learning how to pitch our voices to match our feelings.
But today, we are going to talk about something that might seem like the exact opposite of fluency. Today, we are going to talk about stopping. We are exploring the power of the pause.
Before we dive into the incredible power of silence, we want to ask our listeners for a very quick favor. If you are enjoying this 50-episode journey and finding value in these masterclasses, please hit that like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Your support is the absolute best way to ensure we can keep delivering this high-quality content all the way to the end of the course. It helps us build this amazing global community of English users. So thank you for being here with us.
Now, Ben, when I tell my private students that we need to work on pausing, they usually look at me like I am crazy. They think I am actively trying to make their English worse.
I get the exact same reaction. There is a massive, incredibly toxic myth in the language learning community. The myth is that true fluency means speaking as fast as humanly possible without ever stopping to take a breath.
Yes, the speed myth. So many learners equate speed with skill. They watch movies or listen to native speakers, and because the native speakers are using connected speech and schwas, it sounds like one giant, uninterrupted wall of sound.
So the learner tries to copy that. They take a massive breath, open their mouth, and try to sprint through an entire paragraph of text without stopping. And what happens? They run out of air, their pronunciation falls apart, they panic, and their affective filter slams shut.
It is a disaster. You cannot sprint a marathon, and a conversation is a marathon. The truth is, native speakers do not talk in one continuous, unbroken stream. We pause constantly. We pause to breathe, we pause to think, and most importantly, we pause to help the listener digest what we just said.
Pausing is not a sign of weakness or a lack of vocabulary. Pausing is a deliberate, highly advanced conversational tool. It is the punctuation of spoken English.
I love that analogy. When you write a paragraph on a piece of paper, you use commas, periods, and paragraph breaks. If you handed someone a page of text with no punctuation whatsoever, it would be a nightmare to read.
They would have no idea where one idea ended and the next idea began. They would get lost.
The exact same thing happens in spoken English. If you speak without pausing, you are handing your listener a giant block of unpunctuated text. Their brain has to work overtime to figure out where your sentences begin and end. You are actually making it harder for them to understand you.
So, we need to learn how to insert verbal commas and periods into our speech. This brings us to the core concept of today's episode, which is called chunking, or speaking in thought groups.
A thought group is a small cluster of words that belong together logically and grammatically to form a single idea. It is a chunk of meaning.
Last night, I went to the grocery store to buy some milk, but they were completely sold out.
That is a long sentence.
If you are a victim of the speed myth, you will try to say all 20 words in one single breath. Last night, I went to the grocery store to buy some milk, but they were completely sold out.
When you say it like that, it sounds rushed, panicked, and flat. You lose all the musicality we built in the first 4 episodes.
But a native speaker will break that sentence down into smaller, digestible thought groups. The first group is the time, last night. The second group is the action and destination. I went to the grocery store. The third group is the purpose, to buy some milk. And the final group is the complication, but they were completely sold out.
Now here is the secret rule of the rhythm of fluency. Connected speech, which we learned in episode 3, happens inside the thought group. You flow like a river inside the chunk, but between the chunks, you pause.
Last night, I went to the grocery store to buy some milk, but they were completely sold out.
It sounds so much more natural. It sounds confident. The pauses are only a fraction of a second long, but they create a world of difference.
Those micropauses do 2 critical things. First, they give your listener a split second to process the image you just gave them. When I say, last night, you picture the evening. When I say, I went to the grocery store, you picture me at the store. I am handing you the puzzle pieces one by one, allowing you to put them together.
If I throw all the puzzle pieces at your face at the exact same time, they just bounce off you.
Exactly. The second thing those pauses do is give you, the speaker, a chance to physically reset. You get to take a tiny micro breath. You get to rest your jaw and your tongue for a millisecond before launching into the next thought group.
This physical reset is absolutely vital for maintaining good pronunciation. We talked about energy management in Module 1. You only have so much breath in your lungs. If you try to speak 20 words on one breath, the last 5 words are going to be a mumbled, breathless mess because you have no air pressure left to form the consonants.
But if you pause after every thought group, your lungs are constantly topped up with air. You have a full tank of gas for every single idea. Your final word sounds just as crisp and clear as your first word.
So, how do you know where to pause? How do you identify a thought group in the middle of a real-time conversation?
There are a few natural boundary lines in English grammar that tell you exactly where to put a pause. The most obvious one is punctuation. If you are reading out loud, or if you imagine your sentence written down, you always pause at a comma, a period, a question mark, or a semicolon.
But beyond punctuation, we also pause before conjunctions. Words like and, but, because, so, and or. These words signal a shift in direction, so we take a breath before we make the turn.
We also pause before relative clauses, which usually start with words like who, which, or that. For example, I saw the man who stole my car. The pause comes right before the who.
Prepositional phrases are another great place to pause, especially if they are long. Words like in, on, at, under, or through usually start a new thought group. I left my keys on the kitchen counter.
Now, I know some of our listeners are thinking, then and Anna, you told us in Module 1 not to think about grammar while we speak, and now you are telling us to look for relative clauses and prepositions?
That is a very valid point, and you are right, we do not want you actively analyzing the grammar tree while you are talking to someone at a party. The grammar rules are just training wheels.
You use the rules when you are practicing alone in your room. When you are reading a text and marking your pauses, the grammar helps you find the boundaries. But in the real world, you do not use grammar to find your pauses. You use the rhythm.
You use the physical sensation of needing a breath and you use the logical sensation of finishing a single image. A thought group is just one picture in your mind. Once you have painted that one picture, you pause, and then you paint the next one.
Let us shift gears a bit and talk about the psychological power of the pause. Up until now, we have talked about pausing for physical breathing and for logical clarity, but there is a third type of pause, and it is the most powerful tool in your entire communication arsenal.
We are talking about the dramatic pause, the rhetorical pause, the pause you use intentionally to make people pay attention to you.
In Western business and social culture, silence is equated with confidence. When you are nervous, your instinct is to fill every single second of dead air with noise. You babble, you rush, you use filler words like and You do this because you are afraid that if you stop talking, someone will steal your turn or judge you.
A nervous speaker acts like their time is running out, but a confident speaker acts like they own the time. They are completely comfortable sitting in silence.
Imagine you are in a job interview. The interviewer asks you, "Why should we hire you for this position?"
A nervous learner will instantly start rapid-firing their answer. I am a very hard worker and I have 5 years of experience and I really love this company and I learn fast. It all blurs together and it sounds desperate.
Now, imagine a blueprint student in that same interview. They hear the question. They do not answer immediately. They hold eye contact. They take a slow, visible breath. They wait 2 full seconds, and then they speak.
They say, "You should hire me because I solve complex problems."
That 2-second pause before they spoke did more to prove their confidence than any vocabulary word ever could. It signaled to the interviewer, "I am not intimidated by your question. I am taking my time to give you a thoughtful answer because my words have value."
You can also use the dramatic pause right before you deliver a crucial piece of information. We call this the cliffhanger pause.
A cliffhanger pause builds anticipation. It forces the listener to lean in and wait for the resolution. Think about how a good comedian tells a joke. The entire joke relies on the pause right before the punchline.
If we take a professional example, let us say you are giving a presentation on your team's quarterly results. You could just read the slide and say, "Our profit increased by 50% this year."
But if you want to command the room, you use a cliffhanger pause. You look at the audience and say, "I am thrilled to announce that this year our profit increased by 50%.
That 1-second pause after the word "by" changes the entire dynamic of the room. It creates a vacuum, and the audience's attention gets sucked right into it. They literally cannot look away because human brains are wired to wait for the end of the pattern.
This is such a crucial skill for non-native speakers because we often feel like we do not have the authority to hold the room. We feel like we have to apologize for our English by speaking as fast as possible to get it over with.
You have to stop apologizing. You have a voice and your ideas matter. When you use a dramatic pause, you are claiming your space. You are telling the native speakers around you, "Wait for me. I am building a thought and it is worth listening to."
Let us talk about another massive benefit of pausing, which relates directly back to the translation trap from Module 1. When you are in the middle of a sentence and you suddenly forget a word, what is your immediate physical reaction?
For most people, the physical reaction is panic. The eyes dart around, the chest tightens, and the mouth immediately starts making filler noises. You know.
Those filler words are the sound of your brain buffering. They are the sound of you crossing the translation bridge to search your native language for a rescue word.
But filler noises are incredibly distracting to the listener, and they kill your momentum. So what is the solution? The solution is to replace the filler noise with a silent pause.
This takes practice, but it is life-changing. When you hit a roadblock and you cannot find your phrasal block, do not say Just close your mouth, swallow, take a breath.
Sit in the silence for a second. Use that silent second to build a mental bridge, like we learned in episode 6 of the first module. Find a simpler way to say it using the good enough rule. And then, once you have the new route, open your mouth and continue.
To the listener, a silent pause does not sound like you forgot a word. It sounds like you are being thoughtful. It sounds like you are carefully choosing the perfect word to express your brilliant idea. They will respect the silence. They will not respect the
It is all about the illusion of control. When you pause silently, you maintain control of the interaction. When you panic and fill the air with nervous noises, you lose control.
Let us do a quick demonstration of this, because the contrast is really powerful. Then, I want you to answer a simple question, but I want you to pretend you forget your words halfway through. First, do it the nervous way, with lots of filler sounds.
Well, on Saturday, I went to the big park in the city, and I walked around the water in the middle.
It is completely exhausting to listen to. I feel anxious just hearing you do that.
Okay, well, on Saturday, I went to the big park in the city and I walked around the water in the middle.
Wow, the difference is staggering. The second version sounds like you are a poet carefully constructing an image. The first version sounds like you are lost. The only thing that changed was turning noise into silence.
Silence is your best friend. It gives you time to think, it gives your listener time to process, and it makes you look like a confident authority figure.
As we wrap up this concept, I want to tie it all back to the idea of the river. We said in episode 3 that connected speech is the flowing water.
But a river without banks is just a flood. It is chaotic and destructive. The pauses are the banks of your river. They give the water shape. They guide the flow. You need both the continuous movement inside the thought group and the solid, silent banks between them to create a beautiful, manageable river.
That is the perfect summary of the rhythm of fluency. Flow and stop, connect and pause, peaks and valleys.
Which brings us to your mission for episode 5. We want you to start actively building the banks of your river.
Your homework for this week is what we call the breath mark exercise. I want you to find a short article in English, a news story, a blog post, or a short story. Print it out on a physical piece of paper if you can.
Take a pen, and I want you to read through the text and draw a vertical line wherever you think a pause should happen. Draw a line at every comma and period. Draw a line before conjunctions like and, or, but. Draw a line to break long sentences into bite-sized thought groups.
Once you have marked your entire text with these visual pause lines, we want you to read it out loud. Read the words inside the thought group smoothly, using your connected speech rules. But when you hit a vertical line, you must physically stop, take a small breath, and then start the next group.
I am not going to rush this.
After you have practiced this a few times, come down into the comments section of this episode. We want you to tell us about your experience with the silent pause.
When you replaced your filler words with silence, did it feel awkward? Did it feel powerful? Tell us how it changed your physical sensation of speaking. We love reading your reflections on these physical shifts.
It is going to be challenging to stop saying but the reward is a level of speaking confidence you have never felt before.
You are doing incredible work. You have reached the halfway point of the physical module, and your English is fundamentally transforming.
In our next episode, episode 6, we are going to look at another massive shortcut native speakers use. We are going to talk about contraction mastery.
We are going to show you how native speakers take perfectly good grammar words and smash them together with an apostrophe to save even more time. It is going to speed up your conversational flow immensely.
You will definitely want to be here for that. But for today, embrace the silence. Find your thought groups and remember that your words have value, so give them the space they deserve.
I am Ben.
And I am Anna. If you are enjoying this deep dive into the rhythm of English, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share it with a friend who talks a little too fast.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.